Good evening, folks on the webinar. There's a couple of you. Can you hear us okay? Hey, Lynn, you're self-muted. Unmute and let us know if you can hear us okay. Lynn, I guess you can't hear us.
I can hear you.
Good evening and welcome to the November 3rd meeting of the World Food Drive. For our presentation, I just ask you to say, dear God, thank you for the day and all of its blessings. We ask you to guide us in our work and our actions tonight, and that you include each of us responsibilities as for our town and our residents. Remind each one of us here that we're all members of this community and such that are put together in the spirit of God. The pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilman Martin?
Here.
Councilman Aragosa?
Here.
Councilman Zazinski?
Here.
Councilwoman Forsythe?
Here.
Here.
I can hear you. Oh, sorry.
So we'll start. We have somewhat of a busy agenda. It appears a couple of public hearings and a whole bunch of presentation and a whole bunch of resolutions. But no, and one add-on. The resolution authorizing the supervisor to accept the lowest possible bid received prior to November 19th. The town of 16 of the water treatment plant, and we get into that a little bit more. Once we get into that, but essentially, Jake and I have been looking to manage increasing energy costs, energy consumption, and making up different opportunities for different products, investing products, and fixed products, and things that hopefully will help us mitigate against the market swings that coming winter with us. We'll try that. We'll try that, Mike. Mr. Glenn, let me know if that's better. Okay, so with that, we have the add-on. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is town council reports. I'll start on my left with Councilman Galuski.
Just to share that I was the winner of the best adult themed costume at the Berkeley Square block party. My portrayal of Oscar the Grouch took home a big one on that. And just wanted to give a little bit of credit to my wife and also my daughter. My wife was Abby Kadabi and my daughter was Cookie Monster, and they took a family photo of us. But it was it felt like a college party that I crashed it. I was there for maybe 10 minutes and they announced me as the winner of the Halloween costume contest, which is very nice.
You won the contest in 10 minutes?
I showed up, I threw on the Oscar the Grouch costume, did a quick lap, and there you have it. And every other award winner, it was like Timmy as so-and-so, and then they just announced Oscar the Grouch as the winner of the.
So did I miss you?
Yeah, showed up after you were there. so talk about.
By design.
No, it just worked out that way. But it was a great event. It was my first time attending that event, and it was a lot of fun. It's a great community gathering, and the Berkeley Square neighborhood is a fantastic neighborhood. And then just a quick word on the election. Obviously, yesterday was the election. I wanted to thank everybody who went out and voted. Obviously, off non-presidential, non-gubernatorial elections, turnout is always a consideration. And I thought that all of the candidates running did a great job of informing the voters about what their positions were, what they stood for. And I wanted to thank people for voting and thank people for making informed choices with their votes. And I also wanted to congratulate Supervisor Ketzley on his victory. And obviously, as far as I'm concerned, they're still we're still figuring out who the second town council member will be going forward, and that that process we'll know more in a couple weeks, I suppose. But I just want to say thank you. And along those lines, also wanted to offer, however this plays out, offer congratulations to Caitlin Cook. She ran a fantastic campaign, and it was a great showing, particularly for somebody who was running for their first time out. So that's all.
Thank you. Councilwoman Rosowski.
I have nothing.
Councilman Martin.
Just quickly, I attended a virtual meeting with the Residents Association for Outlaws, talking about the trail system that we're trying to see through that community. We have the beginning of a project. We're trying to gather some survey data and things, and there'll be more forthcoming on that. Of course, I think we've been up to speed on that as well. But I did participate in that, and it looks like after the first of the year, we may be able to take more advanced steps. So we'll get.
Thank you. Councilman Aragosa.
Two things. First of all, this Sunday, November 7th, from 2 to 6 at CJ's Flight Line Club, Food Within Our Spirit fundraiser. The fundraiser, my friend Neil Green organization, it's wonderful thing to do, helping young women and families. Yeah, if anybody's available, they'll have lots of prizes. There's going to be great music. That's the flight line for the local club. There's that. The second thing I have is just to congratulations to the president for the under this win. And I feel like it was very smoothly. It's kind of simple. We can get nasty with each other, and I believe I got that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, I'll have my comments to the board, but we'll move on to public hearing, our first public hearing of the night. And just get all my remote controls out of the way here. And this public hearing is to hear all those interested in the proposed 2022 preliminary budget. The public hearing is now open. There's really nobody in the room that appears to want to speak on it, so I'll ask anyone on the attendees speak on the proposed preliminary 2022 budget. Going once, just raise your virtual hand if you are interested in speaking. Going twice. Seeing no hands, virtual or otherwise, that public hearing is now closed. Next is the public hearing regarding all persons interested in a code change regarding prohibited smoking on municipal properties. That public hearing is now open. This is a code amendment that would prohibit smoking, including all forms of it, vape, and all others on any municipal property. Anyone wish to be heard on this matter? Either in the room or on the webinar. Going once. Raise your virtual hand if you're interested in being recognized. Going twice. Seeing none. That is now closed. Third public hearing is a public hearing to hear all those interested in discussing options related to the new cannabis opt-out law. That is now open. That public hearing is now open. This public hearing is to hear anyone interested in the options related to the new cannabis opt-out law. Just to let people know, on the webinar or in this room, this is again the option for us to opt out. We can opt out by the end of 2021, and we will have the opportunity to potentially reconsider and opt back in at a later date if we so choose. But if we don't opt out by the end of 2021, then we won't be able to ever opt out again. So it's a defensive position right now as far as preserving our options, and that's what this public hearing is, to hear anyone interested in that. Raise your virtual hand if you're interested. Going once, going twice. Seeing no virtual hands. Public hearing is now closed. Move to privilege of the floor, which is now open. We have no one signed up here in the room, but if you're interested, raise your hand and you can speak at privilege of the floor. Anyone online interested in speaking at privilege of the floor, raise your virtual hand and you'll be recognized. You can address the board, going once, going twice. Seeing no virtual hands, privilege of the floor is now closed. So we are now on the supervisor's comments to the board, and I really don't have a lot to say tonight. I'm a bit, as a couple candidates here probably can relate, a bit exhausted. I didn't have an opportunity to put together a full-fledged report here. I do want to congratulate both Mike and Mike on a well-run campaign. I do think I agree with Councilman Aragosa. It was a positive campaign. I think the only one we can say in the county where it was positive and the residents were, I think, proud of the campaign we mounted. I wish you both well. I know Mr. Aragosa won't be continuing with us after this year, but we thank you for your service on the board over the past 4 years and everything that you've been able to accomplish. Mr. Galuski, we obviously offer you all the best, hoping that it works out for, everyone's best interest. It's always a weird thing to say best of luck when I do wish Caitlin all the luck as well. She ran a great campaign as a new person here in the political arena, let's say. She did very well. So congratulations on a well-run campaign, and thank you for the spirited debate that we had over the past how many months. And I think it was a good opportunity for the people of the town to support each one of us. The only other thing I wanted to just point out is we had a great opportunity the other night with Melissa and Vicky we had a movie premiere here in the town of Glenville. People don't realize there was a movie premiere for a DEC movie called Unwanted. I thought that was the title of my working title of my life, but Melissa's like, I got a great film for you. It's called Unwanted. It's your biography. But it was a very good movie. It was a 55-minute film about the invasives. And really, I would encourage, and I think the link is on our website, Melissa. If you have an opportunity, go watch it, share it. It really does a good job pointing out all the different invasives occurring here in New York State in particular, and what we all can do as individuals and private property owners to contribute towards trying to fight against the invasives. And it was the broad range of organisms and disease and blight, and the moth was talked about, the infamous moth, gypsy moth, and what else was on there? The woolly. No, did they talk about mushrooms? I don't remember the mushrooms.
Did they have aquatics on there?
Oh yeah, the boat, wash your boat, all that kind of stuff. The water chestnuts, amazing. Yeah, that's amazing how they harvest those out of there and they just take so much out. But it was very, very interesting. I thank both Vicky and Melissa for being diligent on that, and I think we had a good turnout. Yeah, and people are very interested in it. So, thank you. And that's all I have tonight. So with that, we'll move to the presentation on the Freeman's Bridge Road multi-use path and the Mohawk Hudson Hike Trail by Creighton Manning. You guys are on. And let me just get this. Oh, wait a minute. There we go. All right. So I would have to ask you, when you are presenting, just speak into that microphone, and folks on the webinar should be able to hear that. It's showing here. Oh. That's interesting. We have a technical glitch, folks. It's just going to be 1 minute. Are you sure?
I didn't put anything. Does it allow you to put in?
You have a deck of slides. You didn't, there's not handouts in here, right? No, I mean virtual handouts. We have handouts here at the desk. We have it at the desk. But I meant virtual handouts. To my email? I can't access that here. Okay. Okay. Okay, folks. So I'm gonna change the screen so you can at least see the presenter. You won't be able to see his slides. I apologize for that. It is literally our first day with the new technology.
I'm fine with it.
So sorry about that. Thank you for having us. My name is Tony Christian from Creighton Manning Engineering. I'm the project manager for both these projects that we're going to be given a presentation on. I am joined here today by Angela DePaul and Evan Galley. We have been fortunate to work with the town on these two great projects. The first one we're going to start with is the bike hike trail reconstruction project, and then move on to the Freeman's Bridge Road pathway project. I'm going to hand this off to Angela, and she's going to get started on the first presentation.
Hi, everybody. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay.
I can, and I'll let you know if they can't.
Okay, great.
So far, I haven't heard any complaints.
Okay, great. So I'm Angela. I'm going to talk about the Scotia Glenville Mohawk Bike Hike Trail Reconstruction Project today. I did want to note that this project is jointly funded with the New York State Department of State under Title 11 of the Environmental Protection Fund. So the agenda is we're going to go over project objectives and funding. I'll talk about the project limits, the existing conditions of what's out there today, our proposed work, and any construction impacts we may have. I'm going to then talk about next steps, our construction schedule in general, and then I'll open it up to any questions that anyone may have. It's kind of like awkward. All right, so objectives. The main objective is to reconstruct that existing Mohawk Hudson bike hike trail while addressing drainage issues and looking at the feasibility of adding pedestrian scale solar lighting. The funding of this project is $584,000, which includes engineering, construction, and inspection. $445,490 of that is funded by the Department of State, while the rest of that is being picked up by the town of Glenville. So our project limits, we start at Washington Avenue in the village of Scotia. We go along the existing path alignment to the CSX bridge. From there, we continue still along the existing alignment of the trail onto National Grid property, down all the way to Freeman's Bridge Road, where we continue under Freeman's Bridge and end at the boat launch and near the Water's Edge Lighthouse. So existing conditions, that path out there is unpaved and slightly overgrown today. We've noticed that there's no existing lighting and that over a couple site walks that we've had, a couple areas are prone to ponding of water and have drainage issues, which tend to make it inaccessible for people to use. And we also wanted to note that the existing path does run adjacent to that National Grid transmission corridor. However, the town of Glenville does have an existing easement there for the path to be within that area. So our proposed work, the main project purpose is to pave a 10-foot wide path within the existing project limits. along the existing alignment and clear any vegetation that may be in the way of site, clear it up for site distances, and as well as give clearances on either side for allowable clearance for the path. As mentioned in the previous slide, there's drainage issues out there. Multiple site visits, we were unable to walk some areas because of that. So our proposal here is to raise the elevation of the path in those areas vertically to help with the drainage and ponding issues. And then again, we're gonna address
I have
and
a
try to,
question.
yeah, of course.
With regard to addressing and raising the path, I don't know if this is the appropriate time to ask the question, but will there still be able to fit a pickup truck underneath the bridge there?
Yep,
Okay.
absolutely. I have a couple slides on that too,
Okay,
and I'll
all
get
right.
to that.
All right,
Thank
sorry.
you. No, it's okay. I appreciate it. And then back to the solar pedestrian lighting. This is something that we're going to evaluate. Given the limited budget on this project and the limited funding, we're going to look into that more during detailed design when we have a better understanding of where we're going to end up cost-wise. So proposed work under Freeman's Bridge. This is something we hit on during the corridor study a little bit as well, if anyone was familiar with that. If anyone's ever been under there, you know that it ponds with water and it tends to be inaccessible as well. And I also wanted to note that there's no crosswalk across Freeman's Bridge Road today, and you would have to cross, 4 lanes of traffic to get to the other side, which proves to be unsafe as well as uncomfortable for anyone wanting to go from one side to the other. So we really want to, amplify under the bridge and make it a more usable area. So we plan to raise the elevation of this area as well as pave the 10-foot wide path and tie into the existing asphalt on either side. Although you can't see the visual, not everyone can see the visual, there's existing drainage on the abutments of the bridge that kind of just outlet onto the path today. So our plan is to raise the elevation of the path just above those drainage outlets and then pipe the, the drainage outlet out into the river or out, onto the bank of the river. Along with this, we would be adding a pedestrian fence for increased safety and just a sense of, safe feeling when you're, being raised up a little bit. Things that we are keeping in mind is the clearances. The allowable clearance is 14 feet. We don't believe that's going to be an issue. There's more than enough room, we believe, to accomplish this out there. And another thing that we're keeping in mind is the floodplain with the river. We're definitely going to be looking into that more during detailed design, but it's definitely something we've looked into in the past as well. Yep. Correct, yes. So as Melissa said, during a meeting with Tom at the town, we discussed having a collapsible bollard so that vehicles can't drive down there and up and around, but they still need access to. Yep.
What's the overall length of the?
Off the top of my head. Yeah.
Okay, so given the available funding we have for construction, what's that work out to over these foot?
So there's 500 meetings within construction of the area. This question will be about the land.
No, I mean, the linear foot cost. The 10-foot wide path, I mean, I have a general understanding of what it's like for a municipal road to be involved. I just want to make sure, we have, enough funding, and we don't, we need to be.
Yeah. So off the top of my head, I don't know what the estimation construction cost is now. We did the preliminary estimate, our preliminary design. Right now, based on our estimate, it is funds to be able to construct the trail from one side to the other. Actually, that's an design right now. And we're talking about the road a little bit. Something that we look into is the solar power pods. And what we found on, whether or not it fits within the construction budget, that we're not sure of yet. But the
actual trail itself.
Okay, and then,
Jim, I'm sorry, let me interrupt. Jim and Mike, why don't you come back up because we're not going to use this, because you have to use the microphone for anyone to hear you. Wait. Hey, Jim, just wait 1 minute, because no one heard that. So the question was, what is the linear cost, what is the per linear foot cost for the path? We're not really quite sure of that just yet. We don't have that right now with the answer. Yeah.
Yeah, so we do have a preliminary cost estimate. Off the top of my head, I wasn't prepared with that today. I can share that with you when we get back to the office though. And as Tony has said, there are components of the trail design that may not be able to be incorporated, such as lighting and, lighted bollards. We could do collapsible bollards, but that's something we're going to evaluate further during detailed design. As it stands right now, we do have enough construction budget to do the actual construction and the asphalt paving.
And that's also a decision at that juncture, if there's an infrastructure investment out of our capital funds from the board, from the town.
well, I thought, we get the-
Yeah, of course.
In terms of the drainage, is it just gonna be like sheet off and, is there any active drainage systems, catch basins, ponds, anything like that? I imagine that's a SWIP, right?
Yes, so that's going to be part of this project is completing a SWIP. To our knowledge, there is no active drainage systems out there today. Part of the work, we will be installing a dry well. I'm going to get to that a little bit further in the presentation.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I would,
No, you're okay. No, they're all valid questions, so it's okay. Okay, so back to, unless anyone else has anything, I'll keep going.
That's probably better to let you go through the end and we'll have questions.
Okay, great. So again, back to Freeman's Bridge Road, underneath the bridge, we're going to keep in mind the floodplain and the allowable clearances when designing that work. So next, we're on to the CSX Bridge. If you've been to that portion of the project, it's also an inaccessible portion of the trail at times. Both times we went out there, we were unable to go through that area. We had to come from one side and then the other. So similarly for this, we are going to pave the 10-foot wide path, slightly raise the elevation here, and then put a ditch on the left side of the bridge, which will then outlet into a dry well. And we are confident that that will help with that ponding issue under there, as it is an issue. And then again, we're going to make sure that allowable 14 feet clearance is met. We don't see an issue with that, as this portion of the project, we're only raising the elevation slightly. So then another component of the project is a parking lot at Washington Avenue. This will be a parking lot trailhead type of aspect to the project. As it's designed right now, we are able to have 14 cars in this parking lot. We are assuming that it will be paved, but we're going to work with the Village of Scotia to see what they would like as a treatment out there, as they are going to be the ones maintaining it. Now I'm on the construction impacts. The construction impacts for this are going to be extremely minimal. This is all off-road. So no impacts to traffic itself. For public, the public may be seeing more heavy traffic than anticipated or normal to them, but it's not going to impact their day-to-day lives. Permits, we will need a New York State DOT highway work permit, and this is due to the work underneath Freeman's Bridge Road. And we will need a SWIP, so we are working in the process to get the speedies permit. So our next steps and coordination, I have on here coordination with National Grid. So although there is an existing easement in the area, part of the process with National Grid Real Estate is that they have to review the proposed work. We've gotten this started with Melissa already in September, and all the documents have been sent to National Grid for their review. So that process has been started and it's ongoing. For final design, we're looking at the winter 2021 into early 2022. We're looking at bid opening in spring 2022 with construction start summer 2022 and construction end summer fall 2022. And with that, I'll open it up to all your questions. Thank you.
On the parking lot,
Yes.
That we have a graphic thing each year.
Yep.
Is that all municipally owned land, or do we have to buy anything for that?
I believe that's all municipally owned land, so there's no right-of-way acquisition associated with that. It's basically just a
And you
repay.
mentioned drainage to the river. Is there anything else required to achieve that drainage? Adding on to the easement or anything like that?
Not the,
Ponds or?
I don't believe there is. I don't know, Tony, no, I don't.
All right, good.
Yep. That's,
My only question, in terms of the, house, the bridge, so at the end of the spot, which is accessible, so that you end up with high water level. Will we be able to, go in there with that?
yeah, absolutely. So our proposal is to have it on the outside of the bridge. Yep, on the Village of Scotia side is where we have it right now. Yeah, yeah, definitely.
But that being said, if you go in there with a pump it out.
Yeah, definitely. Of
Can
course.
you just, oh,
A question for you, because before this happens, will we have a work session to discuss it?
well, yeah, certainly if there's any additional funding needed for sure, but we certainly will have another work session probably over the winter. I was thinking for,
I have some questions, but I'll just ask you first.
okay. Can you just address the Whipple Bridge?
Of course. So due to the limited funding, we aren't able to replace the Whipple Bridge as part of this project. We will just be paving up to it and meeting the existing elevations.
So that's important because we need to address that. So we're going to have a issue. So the Whipple Bridge, in case not everyone's familiar, is a structure that was built, I don't know how many years ago, by Union Professor. It's a wood structure that traverses over a stream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the end of
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see it on the map here, where it's from.
It's no longer really usable. So we would have to address that in order to connect the two sides. So that's not part of this project, but it is something that has to be addressed. We are in conversation with the county on that. And hopeful the county is going to help us with that. But that's something that we have to be mindful of as we go forward.
Is just to inquire, I've walked back there a bunch of times. I love it. I'm really looking forward to this project. Is it a danger presently? I mean, I know it's an older bridge. It stands out. But what is the issue with it? I think it's my reason why I'm asking. I think it's aesthetically pretty cool. And if there was a way to preserve it, I would be for that.
I think the main issue is just the ADA compliance.
Okay.
I don't believe there's anything structurally wrong with the bridge.
Okay.
If there was,
Gotcha.
I'm sure that would be brought to somebody's attention.
I
Okay.
think it's tilted,
Um,
hasn't it moved? I think it's a little askew from a flood. Yeah. I don't think it's an original.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think when we had the county here, we had a meeting, there was a brisk debate on to what standard does that bridge have to be as far as emergency
Mhm.
response? And,
Gotcha.
the county wanted something that a fire truck can drive over. And we're like,
Yeah.
come on, we can drag whoever we need to through the bridge if it's a pedestrian bridge. We don't need a fire truck.
Yeah.
But no, but at least something that'll probably be like built to an ATV rescue
Okay.
vehicle standard that can take somebody out. But a fire truck, there's no real fire opportunity down there.
As long as you can get, it's a 10-foot wide path, you can probably get an ambulance down there. If you can get something, like if it's strong enough to support a pickup truck, probably like a 1-ton or larger, you can probably get an ambulance over the bridge if you had to. That's why
Yeah.
I was asking about the height of the railroad bridge, because of the
Right.
height of emergency vehicles, not necessarily a fire truck per se, but an ambulance is taller than a pickup truck just by nature of its construction. So
Yeah, definitely.
obviously.
And we did talk with Tom at the town, and he did mention that there is an access that the town has used through the farm property. In case of an emergency, he did note that that is accessible.
Which the grid trucks use.
Yep.
So you can get a grid truck through there.
Yeah, you can get.
Yeah, so if in the event, there was an emergency, it's probably not ideal, but someone could get out there and assist as needed.
Anything else? Anyone online have any questions or anything? Just raise your hand if you do. Nobody has, so we'll move on to the next presentation.
Great, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Angela.
All right, so the next project we're going to be talking about is the Freeman's Bridge Road Multi-Use Path Project. So the agenda for this one's pretty similar to the other one. We're going to talk a little bit about existing conditions, a little bit of background, proposed conditions, where we're at right now, and impacts during construction. And then we'll talk next steps and what we're going to be doing moving forward. So a little background about this. There's been a lot of studies done on Freeman's Bridge Road. There's the Complete Streets Concept Study, the Gateway Revitalization Study that Creighton Manning was also a part of. And with that study, there were concepts done. There were some different analysis done about sidewalks, multi-use path, and that's really where this project was born out of. The main objective of this project is to improve pedestrian and bicycle accommodations along Freeman's Bridge Road. The funding for this is a federally funded project with 80% of the funding, which is $1.8 million about, covered by the feds. 80% is by the feds, 20% by a local municipality, by the town. So the project limits. So the multi-use path is going to be going on the west side of Freeman's Bridge Road, from Freeman's Bridge all the way up to Dutch Meadows Lane. It's going to be staying on the same side as where Dunkin' Donuts is, Walmart, Lowe's. We're not going to be crossing over Freeman's Bridge Road at all. It all stays on one side of the road. Connects to the new path that just got constructed by DOT along Freeman's Bridge itself. And it connects into the Glenville Trail, Glenville Scotia Mohawk Hudson Bike Hike Trail that we're also working on. So it all kind of works together.
And we'll connect to the Dutch Meadows Trail.
Correct.
That the private
Yes.
fund is, yes.
Yep. So the existing conditions, what's out there right now is pretty much nothing. People walk along the shoulder, they bike along the shoulder and use the existing travel lanes today. There's a lot of driveway crossings out there that we're taking a look at, and lots of overhead and underground utilities. So there's a lot of coordination effort that's required as part of this project, and we're ongoing right now with property owners and utilities. So our proposed work is a multi-use path, 8-foot wide path, 5 feet offset from the curb line. We like to have that 5-foot offset in order for snow storage and signage along the roadway. And we're going to be constructing ADA curb ramps and crossings over at Dutch Meadows Lane, where there is no crossing right now today. So also included as part of this project, there is a rail crossing. DOT currently has a project that is ongoing that timed out nicely with this project, actually, that they're working with, and we're coordinating with DOT and Pan Am. And basically what they're doing, the original plan was for them to put in just a standard vehicle arm. And with this project ongoing at the same time, it presented us the opportunity to be able to get pedestrian arms in place too, so that when their construction is done, we'll follow afterwards and just tie in from both sides. I have a figure shown on one of the slides right now. The darker gray area represents the portion of the project of the rail crossing that would be constructed by Pan Am and DOT in conjunction with each other. And the light gray trail is where we connect on each side of that crossing. You can see that there's a pedestrian arm with an escape hatch gate in case anybody gets stuck within that gated area when the trains come in. They could just walk right out through the gate and push it open and get out safely. So there's also a culvert extension that's included as part of this project. Along Maple Ave, I'm sure you've driven by it, there's the culvert, there's the signal rail, and then it kind of drops off to the stream. And in order for us to accommodate the pathway along that side of the roadway, we need to do a culvert extension. It's extending the culvert how it is today. We're not changing the structure itself. It's just going to be a culvert extension about 18 feet over the existing stream. We're working with our structures team right now, in order to identify the detailed design of that and what it's going to look like. But we will have a railing on the edge of that culvert extension to protect bicyclists and pedestrians for fall protection. So pedestrian crossing upgrades. DOT did come through over at Sunnyside Road and put in a new signal. There are pedestrian crossing accommodations across Sunnyside right now. So what we're doing is we're tying into the existing curb ramps that are there and trying not to impact those at all. Over at Dutch Meadows, there are none today. And we want to be able to get bikes and peds across the road safely in case they want to go to Walmart. So what we're doing is we're going to be putting in curb ramps there, pedestrian signals in order for them to cross over Dutch Meadows Lane. We're also taking a look at over at the Lowe's intersection as well, some of the signage that's posted right there. We're going to make sure that's up to current ADA standards. The ramps are ADA compliant right now, so we're looking to tie into those as well. Right of way. So right of way, there are a lot of impacts as part of this project. Right now, the DOT right of way is close to the roadway's edge, so there's 21 different property impacts that we're going to have. They're strip takings in order for us to get the project constructed. There's 19 different properties that we're going to be purchasing a small strip taking from. And there's 2 temporary easements over by the culvert extension. In order for us to construct the culvert extension, that we'll need temporary easements in order for us to get that work done. And we're currently getting the process started. We're putting together draft acquisition maps and doing introductions to property owners in the coming weeks. Utility impacts. There's a lot of utility poles that are along the road. There's 23 different utility pole relocations that are going to need to be done. There's coordination effort that's ongoing with National Grid Electric and Gas, Verizon Telephone, Charter. They're all on those poles out there. We've had a design walk with the 3 utility companies. We just had a meeting earlier this week in order to discuss different locations where the poles could go so that they're out of the way for the time that we're ready to construct our trail project. There's also 4 different fire hydrants that we're going to be relocating, pushing them back off the roadway a little further, and also various manhole and valves that will need to be adjusted elevation-wise just so they're flush and not a tripping hazard. So driveway impacts. I mentioned there's a lot of driveway openings along Freeman's Bridge Road. We are taking a look to see if any of those could be narrowed up. Right now, some of them are pretty wide and we want to narrow them up so there's less conflict points between vehicles and any pedestrians and bicycles that could be crossing the driveways. There's some curb islands that are out there right now, and in order to carry the multi-use path across them, we'll reconstruct those as well. So construction impacts. We are going to make sure that businesses know that work is going to be going on in front of their properties. Once construction starts, the contractor, the inspector on the job will have to notify businesses 2 weeks prior to let them know work is upcoming. All access to businesses will be open during construction. The last thing we want to do is close up a driveway to a business and have any impact to their business. We'll be using temporary lane closures and shoulder closures in order for them to construct the work. They'll park their trucks along the roadway, do their digging and placing the asphalt in order to get the construction done. We're not looking at any full closures of Freeman's Bridge Road or any detours as part of this project either. During holidays, there's going to be work restrictions on hours. DOT usually sets those, but we don't want any traffic backup during holidays during the construction season. And then permits, we'll need to get a DOT highway work permit. Freeman's Bridge Road is a state highway, so we'll need to follow DOT standards and guidelines and get the permits required for the construction of this project. So next steps. Right now, we have comments from DOT on our preliminary draft design report. We're working on finalizing the comments on that. And we're looking to have design approval this winter. Once we have that, we can move into our final detailed design over the winter and the spring and finalize, the details of the project. And then we're looking to have our bid opening and construction starting over this summer, with constructions completed at the end of the fall in 2022. With that, My contact information is on both the presentations. If anybody has any questions after tonight, it's a lot of stuff going on. Feel free to reach out at any time, but I'm open for any questions right now.
It's going to be a busy summer of 2022.
It's going to be a
in the
busy summer,
area.
but it's all good work, all good work.
Well, that's the question. We've been in contact with them. I don't know through you or through DOT.
Through
Yeah.
us. So we've been working with DOT. We have approval on that concept that we've shown. They're supposed to be, based on their current schedule, they'll be constructed prior to us. So the gates will be up.
I think Jim's talking about the actual, you know how bad the crossing is on the road.
Yeah, so that'll be done
Part of that.
prior. That's all included.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. When's that anticipated to be done?
I've been trying to get a schedule out, and they said, I think early 2022 for construction. I know they're getting closer
They're going to do that before you do yours.
before us,
Right.
so it'll be,
It's
so
spring of
once,
2022, probably.
yeah, with construction near rails, it gets kind of complicated if you're within there right away, because you need flaggers. It gets kind of expensive, so it is very fortunate from a funding standpoint that they will be out there and they can construct everything beforehand.
You know, and when you build into the efficiencies, if you let them at the same time. You know,
Yeah, so it's because it's different funding. So the rail funding is Section 130 funds, and this is TAP CMAQ money. So it's separate.
The way it works. It's government work.
Round peg, square hole.
Anything else? Anyone on the webinar? Raise your virtual hand. Seeing no virtual hands, thank you.
So when are we gonna have a cost estimate for both sides?
As soon as I get back to my office, I could email you if you'd like.
Tomorrow, we don't have to do it
I can
tonight.
do it. Yeah, no, it's no problem. So that works, yeah. No, it's no problem at all. So as part of preliminary design, we do estimates. So we break it down into excavation, asphalt, work zone, contingency. So we have all those numbers right now. Both projects are under budget, construction wise, everything wise so far. And as Angela mentioned with the lighting for the Glenville, Scotia, Mohawk Hudson Bike Hike Trail, that's the portion that would push it over budget. But we are looking to design it because it is part of our scope anyway. What we plan to do is when we do put that project out to bid, we'll have it designed, we'll have it in the plans already, so we can make it a bid alternate in case the project. Yeah, so in case the bids do come in low for the trail itself, maybe asphalt prices go down. Maybe the lights can be included, and if they can't be included, the plans will be done already. If any funding opens up, any additional funds become available, you'll have the plans ready to go already, and you can just put it out to bid and get those added later.
If it comes in under budget, I will buy you a steak.
This is being recorded, correct?
There's plenty of witnesses on that.
Challenge.
I have a question.
Oh.
That's okay. Go ahead, Mike.
Go ahead, Mike.
The numbers are like.
In the plans. Yep, correct.
Because I think building it without lighting it. The owner will come in. And I'm pretty good with you need those numbers there.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we'll have, through coordination efforts, we'll give a couple different options about, what products are available that we could use, and then we'll do the design. We'll have a funding number for you. That way the town's all prepared and ready to go.
Councilwoman Rudowski?
That's a great product.
Everybody done talking? So I can
I
ask
know,
a
we
freaking
gotta-
question? For the love of God, I just have one question.
Huh.
With regard to the pavement, specifically with the bike path, I know that it would probably add cost, but is it something to consider with like the porous asphalt to reduce the sheet runoff that we already have a problem with drainage in that area? I don't know if it's worth looking at, if it pushes the budget like way out of line? I mean, I would imagine it probably does, but just, thinking along lines of, that is kind of an aquifer recharge area and,
Yeah, so
you
the
know,
the porous pavement is,
expensive.
Yeah.
I know.
um,
I have Cadillac taste, I'm sorry.
I mean, I'm all for it. But yeah, that would probably most likely push us over. So
Okay.
right now, we're looking at just
Just the
asphalt
regular
trail.
asphalt.
For the actual parking lot for the Glenville Scotia bike hike trail. Parking lot, we're looking both ways, whether we do gravel or asphalt from a maintenance standpoint.
Mm.
Anytime you put new facilities out there, somebody's got to maintain it. So it's a conversation we want to have with the town and Village of Scotia, just to see what works best for the town and for the village.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Anything else? Thank you very much, Tony and Angela. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having us. We appreciate working with the town. It's always good to have a municipality that likes to get things done. So we appreciate it and thank you very
That's
much.
us.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know. How many times I asked Melissa, where are we on this timeline? Where are we on this timeline? Thank you, guys. So, let me get us back here. Okay, so back to the agenda. We're on resolution number 11, which is scheduling a public hearing for Wednesday, November 17th regarding the imposition of liens on parcels in relation to our cutting of grass, brush, and weeds administrative fees. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Do I have a second? Moved in second. Any discussion?
As you stated, Mr. Supervisor, this resolution sets a public hearing for November 17th at 7 PM here at Town Hall to hear any objections or comments with regard to the mowing of grass, brush, and weeds at several properties within the town.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Aragosa? Councilman Godlewski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 12, scheduling a public hearing for Wednesday, November 17th, 7 o'clock, to hear all those interested in the proposed amendments regarding accessory uses of the code of the town of Glenville. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, this is a public hearing for Wednesday, November 17th, here in this room regarding accessory uses, an amendment to that section of the code. Specifically, I believe, Melissa, it's an addition for setting a limit on all accessory structures 1,200 square feet up to 2,400 square feet in size, must be a minimum of 20 feet in side or rear property. That's the addition. I think that's the only one I know.
Yeah.
So in the future, though, not now, but you'd have to come to the microphone so folks on the webinar can hear that. Yes. So this is setting the public hearing for accessory uses. That you're right. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Aragosa?
Yes.
Councilman Godlewski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 13, scheduling a public hearing on November 17th regarding anyone interested in being heard on amendments of Chapter 232, garbage and refuse of the code of the town of Glenville. Do I have a motion?
I'll move
Do I
it.
have a second?
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, once again, this is a public hearing, time and date of November 17th at 7 o'clock in this room. To hear persons for or against an amendment to the noted garbage and refuse chapter. And specifically, it's timed regarding the containers that are left out, correct? And what's proposed is all waste containers shall be placed at the curb only for collection. No person, firm, or corporation shall place separate waste containers at any designated areas for collection prior to 5 PM of the day immediately preceding the scheduled collection time, and then they're supposed to be removed by 9 PM the next day.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Aragosa?
Yes.
Councilman Godlewski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 14, scheduling the public hearing on November 17th here at 7 o'clock to hear all those interested in an unsafe, regarding unsafe property at 513 Elliott Street. Do I have a motion?
I'll move
Do I
it.
have a second? Moved in second. Any discussion?
No.
No, I guess
You
it's just
said-
pretty much what it
You
is.
said what it
We
said.
don't have to add anything to that. Seeing no other questions or comments, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Aragosa? Councilman Godlewski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 15, approving the preliminary capital expense budget for Water District Number 11 and extensions 10 through 51 for the year of 2022. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Do I have a second? Moved in second. Any discussion?
No, Mr.
Pretty well
Supervisor, this is as stated.
Well, it's all right in the title.
Yeah, yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Aragosa? Councilman Godlewski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 16, approving the preliminary capital expense budget for Sewer District Number 9 and extension number 7 for the year of 2022. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Do I have a second? Moved and seconded. Questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Aragosa? Councilman Godlewski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 17, approving the preliminary capital expense budget for Sewer District Number 1 for the year of 2022. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Do I have a second? Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Aragosa? Councilman Godlewski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 18, approving the preliminary capital expense budget for Sewer District Number 2 for the year 2022. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Do I have a second? Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Aragosa? Councilman Godlewski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 19, adopting the assessment roll for the Water District Number 11 of the town of Glenville and extensions 10 through 51 for the year 2022. Do I have a motion?
I'll move
Do
it.
I have a second? Moved and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Aragosa? Councilman Godlewski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 20, adopting the assessment roll for Sewer District 9 and extension number 7 for the year of 2022. Do I have a motion?
I'll move
Do I
it.
have a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Aragosa? Councilman Godlewski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 21, adopting the assessment roll for Sewer District 1 for the year 2022. Do I have a motion?
I'll move
Do I
it.
have a second? Moved and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Aragosa? Councilman Godlewski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 22, adopting the assessment roll for Sewer District Number 2 for the year of 2022. Do I have a motion?
I'll move
Do I
it.
have a second? Moved and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Aragosa? Councilman Godlewski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 23, correcting a reported error in Water District 11 water use fee roll and accepting the corrected roll. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Do I have a second? Moved and second. Any discussion on this?
Just, Mr. Supervisor, this is in regards to an adjustment at property located at 82 Saratoga Road. And it was a clerical error, misplaced decimal point in the manual water meter read.
Yes, and the adjustment,
It lowers their bill by $1,008.93.
excellent. Any other questions or comments? No, they haven't paid the bill. Yeah.
Well, they probably got the bill and we're like, what the heck?
Questions or comments? Please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Aragosa? Councilman Godlewski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 24, adopting a local law to add a new chapter. I assume that's 30 and not a placeholder, 3 X's, right? Chapter 30?
No,
Well-
the chapter number isn't known. and
Oh,
from
okay,
the
so it is a
minutes that are-
placeholder. Okay. Like Super Bowl 30 or something. Town properties regarding smoking on town properties to the code. So this is a change, a new chapter actually titled Town Properties. And it regards smoking on town properties or the prohibit, of smoking on town properties. Do you have a motion?
I'll move it.
Do I have a second? Moved in second. Any discussion?
This has been for years, a policy of the town. The state and this, give us a little bit more heat. With the upcoming, and if, the fact that we really don't want to.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Aragosa?
Yes.
Councilman Godlewski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 25, adopting a local law to add that chapter unnumbered cannabis management to the code of the town of Glenville. Do I have a motion?
I'll move
Do I
it.
have a second?
I'll second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Just Mr. Supervisor, I think it is wise for this board to, at this time, opt out on introducing cannabis into the town. I think there's, as when we taught our work session, we discussed there's a great many number of questions with regard to the legislation, how it's going to be implemented, boards that have not been formed yet, who would help us regulate such business. So, I think that for residents to understand that we're not saying no forever, we're just saying no for now so that we can have time to consider the matter, see how things kind of play out, and make sure that we make the best decision for the town going forward.
Thank you. And just to add to that, for people who might be listening or concerned, this is only in relation to the retail dispensaries and the on-site consumption. All the other licenses, and there are numerous, grow and 14 other licenses, we don't have control over. The only opt-out is for the retail dispensaries and the on-site cannabis consumption. So I know there are folks asking about growing in West Glenville, for example. This would not impact that at all.
And what, this resolution is subject to a permissive referendum, that has 45 days, as a time.
Any other questions? Oh, go ahead.
Well, just to add, the reason that I'm for opting out at this point is for, at least a year away from the state having guidelines for any of this to actually happen in anyone's house. So, it's not like anybody can open a dispensary next year. The guidelines are there. The state is still working on all of that. For us to opt out now, it makes sense to me, being that, we don't opt out, we never opt out. Opt out now, we always opt out.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
If I may, I've given a lot of thought to this issue and this resolution. It's something I've thought about for a while. I've actually probably changed my mind a couple of times about how I was going to vote on this. And I agree. I think there's a lot of wisdom in the position that the town is taking, certainly more of a defensive position regarding this issue. But I fundamentally feel and have felt for quite some time that alcohol and marijuana should be treated similarly under the law. And I believe that both should be subject to zoning. Obviously, zoning enables towns to control where retail can and cannot go. And certainly as far as addressing the issue down the road, I guess we don't know how this board's going to be constituted down the road. So I had some feelings about this issue and wanted to express them, and that's all.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Aragosa? Councilman Godlewski?
No.
Councilwoman Wozzowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 26, authorizing the revitalization and economic development investment grant to support local small businesses. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, I believe this is a reauthorization of our past, we did it in the past, I think, we'll refine it a little bit. The facade design grant program to be again of businesses in the community, providing a grant of $10,000 on a matching basis, 50% matching basis for improving the facade or the signs. It's a grant. And I know we did this, what, 2013, 12?
Yeah, we've done a couple ready rounds, but yes, back early on, like 13 or so was the big one where all the new signs were.
Yeah, it was quite popular. So I expect we'll get a lot of applicants. Most of us program, just the program guidelines and application for grant funding, not for us, but, to report information, provide a fast track of money and set up some standards. It's a nice program, and I encourage the businesses of the community to participate. So, and thank you, Melissa, for reactivating this again. Time to have another round of it.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Yes, I have a question. How much is the total funding that would be available to be
Well,
spread out over businesses?
The budget of the Ready Fund is $50,000.
50,000 now? Okay.
Yeah.
It was 30 for a
Or
while.
it's up to 10 on the match.
10, yes.
Right.
Yeah, that I got. Yeah, per business.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah, it's probably be the size.
Yeah, we did way more than that in 2013 with the same budget, because it is a match. But this does have more, right, but this does have more eligible for funding than that one had, so
Right,
potentially,
that's like, 5,000.
yeah. And it was only for signs, this is for facades. So it might add something. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Aragosa? Councilman Godzowski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 27, supporting greater protections of children from convicted sex offenders. Do I have a motion?
I'll move
Do
it.
I have a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Just to explain the origins of this resolution before we get into it, I think you're all aware that there's a neighborhood, there's a bunch of neighborhoods, but there's a particular neighborhood where level 3 had moved in. I won't get into the nature of the crime that was committed, and you could all find that out on the registry yourself, but it certainly unnerved the neighborhood, and it started a movement within this neighborhood. And I have to recognize the great efforts of the community and of the neighbors who got together to ensure that everybody was looking at this, the town, the state, parole, the federal, this person's on federal parole as well. And we all worked together, and one of the things that came out of the community meeting we had in this room last week was that the residents were interested in having the town express its support for changes to the state law. Right now, the state law does prohibit a level 3 sex offender from living within 1,000 feet of a school. In this particular neighborhood, there's a daycare within 800 feet. And there's also a home, a house for individuals with disabilities within 800 feet as well, vulnerable adults. And so there's a bill that's been in both the state Senate and Assembly for some time. Our representatives, Senator Tedisco and Assemblywoman Mary Beth Walsh, have been co-sponsors of it. You see it's listed there, Senate 4891 and Assembly 5938. This would add to the school's listing as a level 3 sex offender would not be able to be present within 1,000 feet of a child care provider, preschool, or any facility where pre-kindergarten or kindergarten instruction is provided. So this would strengthen the current law. I did honor the request to bring the resolution forward to the board. It doesn't have everything that people want. They did want to add vulnerable adults, homes where vulnerable adults are living. They wanted to have bus stops. They wanted to add a whole bunch of things, but that's not in the current Assembly or Senate bill. So this resolution only deals with that specific bill. We could always add something later, or if you want to amend, but I at least wanted to bring this forward and on behalf of the residents and have it considered. Any questions or comments?
Just to express support for this resolution, by day, I'm an attorney for Child Protective Services and deal with issues regarding sex offenders fairly commonly. Recidivism rates are very high for sex offenders, and I think these are good laws, and I would thank Senator Tedisco and Assemblywoman Walsh for sponsoring them.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Aragosa?
Yes.
Councilman Goodwinski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
President Hudson?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 28, approving the minutes for the regular town board meeting held on October 6th. Do I have a motion?
October 20th.
I'm sorry?
The agenda says October 6th, the
Oh.
resolution says the 20th.
We're
Sorry.
just testing you, Mike.
Still awake.
Yeah, so it's,
Bear with me.
October 20th. Do I have any, we already had a motion. right?
I'll move it.
All right, in a second. Moved in second. Any discussion?
Resolution is as stated. Mr. Supervisor, I thank Ms. Davenport for putting the minutes together for us.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Aragosa? Councilman Goodwinski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Hudson?
Yes, resolution passes. Does anybody have in their packet the next resolution, the add-on? Because I do
No,
not.
I do not.
Okay, that's
Did I
okay.
get it?
It depends. Do you, probably, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you
Yeah.
know what it is, you
You
can
mind?
just say.
No.
It's just a resolution we're trying to sneak by, giving me unlimited authority forever and always.
I mean, forever and
You
always,
don't need to see it.
what could happen? What could happen?
You got to pass it before you can read it. Isn't that how it works
Oh,
over
yes,
there?
that is how it
Mike?
works.
Just like, yeah.
You might as well. So let's move on to new business. I'll start on my left with Councilman Galuski.
Just a thought, and a while back I had talked about a friend of mine who was had a diagnosis, and the prognosis wasn't well. A friend of mine passed away earlier this last month, and she was very big. She was very faith-based. She was very spiritual, very kind, caring person. One of her things was to ask people to do an act of goodwill or an act of kindness for a random stranger. So I would challenge people that are listening to try and do an act of kindness or a good deed for a stranger, or just a person, or even a person that they know going forward, and to pay it forward. And that's all.
Thank you. Councilman Wozzachowski.
I don't think I can top that, but thank you for the challenge. I'll be sure to take you up on it.
Thank you.
Councilman Martin.
Just a couple things I want to revisit with the resolution. I want to recognize the work of Jim Pangborn in bringing forth the, resolution on construction. That's just picking shovel work that's done with code enforcement that keeps our neighborhoods fresh and protected. Just want to acknowledge that's not easy stuff, and I don't think we should just pass by that as being something that's perfunctory, because it's not. It's tough work, and I appreciate, what our code enforcement do every day, and I want to recognize that. And then the other thing I just wanted to touch base with, the Ready Fund there, the science program. I want to emphasize for residents, that's not a state grant. That is a very, very rare instance where a municipality is stepping forth and taking funds out of our budget, for the betterment of our local economy, our local businesses. And it's very rare to see that kind of thing, and I just want to recognize that that's what's being done here. I think a very effective use of very precious tax dollars of public money in helping our local economy, and everybody's money together to help our local business. And I just want to emphasize that's the source of that money, and not just some state grant.
If I could put a fine point on that, just so residents know that the way our municipal financing works, we do get a revenue stream from Metroplex. It's an additional sales tax that is applied that Metroplex collects, and then It's somewhat of a complex formula we won't get into, but we do get a portion of that. What I'm reminded very often by the folks at Metroplex was the intent of that was to put local development, economic development in the hands of local government. And those funds were meant to be used for economic development purposes. Now, what happened is, you can imagine what happens with a lot of local governments is they put it into the general fund and they got very dependent on it. And so that was before any of our time. We are certainly dependent on it in our budget, just like everybody else. And that wasn't the intent of the fund. So this board years ago sat down and said, we're going to start to carve out some of it, wean a little bit away and start using it for that economic development purpose. So this is really meeting the fund's purpose, but this is not levy. This is not coming from the levy. This is not coming, it's coming from Metroplex funding, which I understand. It's a bucket of water. It all goes in there and it gets all mixed up, but we are trying to at least honor the spirit to some degree of what that was intended for.
Well, I just wanted to point that out. I think
Yep. Thank you. Councilman Aragosa. Okay, so we bought some time and I don't have anything either for new business. So we'll go back to the add-on. As you can see before you, take a moment just to read it, but this is an add-on resolution that would help Jason and I manage our energy expenses this year, especially as electricity and gas prices are expected to increase. And this relates to the water treatment plant, which actually uses a large amount of our electricity. The contract is expiring, and so there is volatility in the market, as you all know, and so we must accept bids as they come in. And this is our opportunity to try to manage against that market volatility by accepting the lowest responsible bid received prior to November 19th. Jason and I met with our energy consultant, and we were on 3 telephone calls, presentations from 3 different vendors on different products and different opportunities to try to mitigate against a volatile marketplace. There's index, as I mentioned earlier, indexing fund, there's fixed pricing, there's a whole bunch of different products that work in different ways. And it's somewhat complex. And so we're working through that, and we just need the flexibility to be able to respond to the lowest responsible bid as it comes in, because it changes day to day with pricing. So do I have a motion on that?
I'll move it.
Do I have a second? Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments on that? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Aragosa? Councilman Gavlucci?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. We're done with new business, so I will take a motion to adjourn.
I will move
Do I have a second?
A second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you. Have a good evening, everybody.